Hi, this is Jose Vasquez. I am your IFSM 201 professor. Today is Monday and it's the first day of week number 7. I wanted to take some time to talk to you about the upcoming assignment that's due this week and regarding the research paper. All the information I'm going to talk about is already in Leo. I'm just trying to illustrate or model where the information is and help you with a couple things that I think will maybe helpful. If you were following my suggestions to use the APA citation and reference format throughout the discussions and your prior submissions, you probably are going to be ahead. If you did not take my advice, this I think will be helpful to you. First things first, let's go to the content area, to week 7. In there, the first thing that module that refers to the research assignment is this description of research paper. In there you will find a basic description of the paper itself and what we're trying to do, and then it has this little link to the APA requirements for this class. You can read it on your own, but it kind of gives you references or where to find guidance about citations and references and the format, and about some of the things that I'm going to be using or are included in the rubric for evaluation. The next thing I wanted to show you is the actual assignment itself. So again, back into week 7 module, we're going to go to activities this time, and in here you'll find the link to the research paper assignment. In there are two documents that you need to download and read. The first one is the research paper requirements, and the second one is using the references tool on a PC or a Mac for Word. The Word actually has the ability to create properly formatted APA citations and references, and I have them opening here too, so let me show them to you too. So let me open the Word first. Okay, this is the Word document on the first link, and the second one is instructions on how to use the tools within Word for both PCs and Macs. Very easy instructions to follow. I just did it and found it easy to me. I know some of you may have some difficulty, hence they need to practice how to do it. So let me just do that right now, since that's what we're talking about. So for the Microsoft Word for PCs, what you do is you go to References, and you'll see this section here where it lists insert citations, manage sources, what style. In this case, of course, we're using the APA. There are other types of citations out there that you could be using, and also about bibliography, and we'll talk about that here towards the end. So let's say you have a new citations. The way to include citations as you write your paper is there's actually two ways. You can go straight to the insert citation and then create one, or go to the manage sources. I like the manage sources because it gives me a more organized way to do it. It also allows me to create a paper, just any paper, and start adding once I create the paper, it gives me the ability to start adding those resources into the paper even when I have not written the paper. So it kind of serves as a depository of information as I find resources. And then when I start writing the paper, I will have them all already in the database within Word so that I can apply them. So let me give you an example of that. So manage resources, I actually created 2. I've been practicing. And that's kind of what I've done. I'm gonna create a new one. It will be for a book, but you can select any other journal types, which I believe is probably what some of you will be using. You can go down to websites, electronic sources, documents from websites. So every type of format or type of source is already pre-formatted here with the blanks that you are going to need to fill out your reference. So in this case, I'm going to pick a book. Immediately gives you this this predetermined boxes, I will start by adding a name, or I can use the edit box, either way. So I'm gonna create one, David samples, and let's say I'm gonna call this title of the book is where it goes in here. So it will be whatever the book title is, Jungle Book, I don't know, whatever. I'm just creating this stuff as I go. And then the year, let's say it's 2016, and then the city is Fredericksburg, that's where I live, so I'm gonna use that. And then you notice there was no state here. Publisher will be I don't know, Randall. Well, I just made that up. Now that said, however, if you have more information that you want to keep, you want to add to give more clarity to the citation, there's this selection here, show all block bibliography fields. What that does, it lists all of the possible other bibliography fields that you may want to add. Again, that's normally not needed because the intent of the presets is to already kind of give you a good standard fields for you to fill out. Now I have found it that as I develop in my education, I started to develop a bibliography document for things that were related, whether it was IFSM or in business or even back in my old days in chemistry. Just kept adding it and growing, and that's what I used it. I actually filled a lot more than was required for that purpose only. So now I'm going to, you see this little tag name here? That's kind of the reference to what we're doing here, Samples Davis, and that's what it is. All right, so I'm gonna click OK. It is created, it's now there. And what this tells me is that some of this already in the source, in the current list within this document. So I'll transfer it in here if I need to. Close it. And now we're in a paper, and we're writing a paper. I have all my sources already in the database, and or I was adding them as I was writing the paper. That's also possible. And let's say that this whole last sentence or paragraph, it's a quote. There's two last sentences are a quote. So now I'm going to get rid of that. I want to cite the person who the source of the document. Again, go to insert citation, click on it. I want to pick Dave Samples. Boom, there he is. And then I put a period. Boom, we're done. So now I have the quoted material and I have the citation in the proper format, the last name and the year. Now let's go back a little bit. Let's say that now instead of direct quoting, the material came from me, but you have used it to justify a point. But I still have to cite, so I will say something like per Vasquez, right, comma, Wikipedia, blah 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 blah, and then this last two paragraph. I'm not quoting again. These are my original words, but I'm using the data that Vasquez provided, my raw source material. So how do you give credit to where the source of the reference that I'm using to prove a point can be formatted properly? In this case, let's say that the part that came in is are not considered. That's the only portion that really belongs, but it's helping me. It's helping me in my statement. So I did put a partial quote in there, and then I'm gonna go to per Vasquez, and I'm gonna go to insert citation, right? Just like we did before. I'm gonna use samples again. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. They should say per samples here. Per samples, and then now you notice that per samples, the citation says samples. That's not proper format because I already mentioned the author names in my statement. So what you do is you go over here and you can see how this has this little down arrow. You click on that and you edit the citation, right? So what I'm going to suppress, you see this thing here? Suppress the author. You can suppress the author, the year, or the title. In the case, I'm going to suppress the author. Boom. Now what happened is he added the other two things that could be used for reference. The title of the book and the year. That is acceptable. Another acceptable practice is just to use the year. So now we got per samples in 2016, Wikipedia, blah, 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 blah. Oh, so now I have in this paper cited the source of the material properly by just adding the year. What that says is this is what that short year does is tells the reader that this came from a source and what year it came from the source. Now I'm gonna go through this. I'm gonna go through this document, but I wanted to take you to the bottom of it so you can see where the references go. So now you're at the bottom, and if you notice here, there was a mention of a possible additional reference. I can't find it right now, but anyway. So you go to the bottom, and now you are in a new page, and now you are going to insert that bibliography, that reference. So you click in here to add it, and it gives you actually three. I meant to tell you that I will actually click on that down arrow next to bibliography. It gives you a bibliography format, one with reference, on works cited. We're going to use the reference format. So I click in references, and voila, here it is. References titled properly at the top. Apparently there was somebody when I saw this document, it came to me with already cited reference before the one I added, and because they're extras, I'm gonna delete them. I'll just take them out. They were just in the document, they were used by someone else. That will happen to you too. You start adding reference and don't use them all you have to do is just delete them. I think Joseph is already here somewhere. I can't remember where it was stated. I think it was in a prior example that the class manager had done. It might have been that she copied this paper from another document and reused the paper for this document. I was not the original author. All I can do is assume. But I'm gonna take it out. I didn't see it there, so bingo. Now, I went too far, which sometimes happens. Boom, 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 boom. Just delete the portions that you do not need. Down. There we go. So now my work is referenced the proper way. I got rid of any additional bibliographies that showed up, and it's properly formatted. One thing I meant to mention earlier is also notice how it is indented properly. This is a proper indentation for formal papers where the last name starts first with the first name initial, the year, the month, and then notice how the rest of the line is indented in. One more thing about formal papers, and you'll see that in the formatted paper that I already gave you, is that papers that are formal are normally spaced out between lines. That way it has a line space so the instructors can read it and more clearly, and if they make corrections they can write on it. That's how most papers are turning, with that double line spacing or line spacing between lines, and that's what a true reference will look like. I probably will change this to black. Get rid of the blue. Blue is something that Word comes already formatting, and normally all of their headings show up as blue. So now there we go. You have learned how to use the tool to create two types of citations: one that was a full quote and one that was a partial quote with me using the name of the author in the paper. So that hopefully will help you out. For Word document, it's very similar. I also have Mac for Word here. Hold on for a second. I'm trying to bring it back to you guys. It's not helping me. It's not cooperating. There we go. All right. So this is the same document, but open in a Mac with for Word, for those folks that have Word for Mac. And the difference is that you actually go to Documents Elements, and you go to the Reference Citation area. Boom. And then in there you will have the Manage field, which is very similar to what we you saw before in the Word document that was called manage resources. And here it just says manage. And that list that came out, although it looks different, it's kind of serves the same purpose. In this case, however, you go to the edit source to add names, and you can also go to the citation source manager. Ta-da! And now that table looks like the other one, right? You copy and you start bringing them into the key from the master list down to the current list. So again, very similar to that. You would edit the source. I'm gonna just go through it for your help. Oh, that's right. I have to click for editing. I have to click on the reference that I'm trying to change. Let me create a new one. Citation source manager. Boom. There we go. It's gonna be. I'm gonna use this because I like to keep last names in the right. So this is samples. JVIT. No middles. I will add it. Once it's added, now it's part of the database of authors. The title is the Jungle Book, I think we call it, right? We were in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and the publisher was just book publisher, I think is what I call it. And then important to put the year 2016 for reasons that I mentioned early. And also, I'm sorry, do you notice something? There's also extra. This one, unlike the Word version, it actually gives you more fields. The reason for that is back in APA when Word came out, a lot of these will require. They're not even, they're just not even presented anymore. You can turn that into an article. You can turn that into a website. And you can see how the table changes for the fields you need. Okay, so now I'm going to add it, and now I'm going to bring it over, copy, yes, bam, close. Now you have the references that you've been collecting or are you adding as you write the paper. And then you go to your paper. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. And now, same idea, quotes, citation. Now I go over here and now I'm going to add this citation, and this citation is now, if you notice, the citation mark is not showing. What you do in this case is you go to the citation list, you put your cursor right where at the end of the quotes in my example, and then you double click on the author, and that immediately puts the citation right where it is needed. Same thing in here. If I'm going to decide that I don't want to quote the entire thing, that I'm only going to quote a portion of the statement, I can do the same thing I did before per samples, Wikipedia, and then clicking here, click it twice in here. I added the samples, and again, this is not the right format, so I click in here, go down to edit citation. I want to suppress the author and the title, and now bingo, here we go. Now you got per samples 2016, and I just have to make sure that the area that I'm actually going to quote, if you do so, is in quotes. If this is not a direct quote and you're just saying what he stated on his document, then you do not need the quotes here. But what it does, it shows the backup to your statement that per samples, blogs, discussion groups are not Wikipedia type are not considered credible resources. The author may have said something different. May have said Wikipedia have been found to be faulty and unreliable, and you just didn't use that same quote, but you still use it as a reference point to a point you're making. So that covers now both. Oh yeah, I forgot. I got to go back to the end and create a bibliography and Microsoft. I'm sorry, in Word for Mac. Here is simple. You basically go very similar to what we did before. The only difference is that this one doesn't give you a reference format like the Microsoft Word for PC did. Just either one will work. You can see how he added the two extra references that we did not use. Not a big deal, just delete them, you know. Now another thing that I noticed with the Word, it doesn't give you the full formatting that you had before, and that means that you're gonna have to do that yourself. The way to do it is, again, you we'll go to the home page in this case, and we are going to add the double. Let me go back to the area. We're going to go back to the double spacing that is required, and then we are going to have to format the indents 1/2 inch as required by the APA format. And now it is the reference has been pasted properly, it is spaced properly, and it has the proper indent. But you're gonna have to do that again in the PC version of Word. We didn't have to do that. All right, that hopefully will cover some of the hard things that you have to do with the APA, besides the document, formatting the document. Now I already gave you a template that you can use, and I don't know if you remember this, but back when we were talking about the Word document, I made an announcement. Let me just go to it real quickly. I think it was September 26th. Let me go back to September 26th. All right. Here we go. Where I gave you some Word assignment tips, and I actually gave you this APA cover and reference page template. Use it. This has the 1 inch margin you're supposed to do. It kind of already gives you the page and what it's supposed to look like. Let me open it for you guys so you can see it real quick. Bingo. Okay, there we go. So it already has a lot of the formatting that otherwise you will have to measure and do by yourself. I also illustrated how to create sections between the pages. So if you follow the guidance I provided before, again, I don't know what else I can do to make it simpler for you. Just remember, this document may have some faulty reference in there. Just make sure that when you add your own citations that you delete those extra ones, okay? I did this to help you out. Hopefully it has been. So now I gave you a tool you can use in Word on how to create citations within it, the application itself, and I even given you a document that you can work straight out of. So I don't know what else I could do to help you out, except that now we're going to talk about that assignment itself. All right. So we go to this research paper requirements, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. You can read it yourself, but you know, the intent of this paper is twofold: is to increase your knowledge and understanding of protected personal information and ethical issues. And we are going to do that by giving you 8 topics you can use for research. Pick one and develop it. Not going to necessarily predict who's going to do what. I'm going to let you pick your own topic. And even if you have your own another topic that you would like to address and you may be familiar, as long as it addresses ethical issues and you tell me, and I approve it, and I normally do. I have not disapproved. I don't think I've disapproved any papers ever in 301 class that I normally teach. So I don't plan to not allow you to pursue something as long as it is a paper that follows the subject of ethical issues. Just send me an email as soon as possible, so you have quite a bit of range of what you can do and research in your own way. Now, a couple of things I want to add is read this section about Wikipedia. You know, it is not a credible source. I don't consider a credible source. So what I consider a good source is something you pull from the UMUC library. That is a journal, a magazine, newspaper, a published journal. All of those things will be considered. If you start pulling a lot of website stuff, I don't necessarily consider websites to be credible references. I will give you credit for them if they are a valid um, uh, news organization or journal organization. But if it's your brother's blog or some guy's blog or anything like that, I do not consider credible. It has to be something that is academic or professional for me to accept that website as something that it is truly a credible source. Anyway, more information at the bottom of this paper about grammatical errors and mismatch. All of those things are graded in the paper. Again, this is your first step at learning how to write academic papers. So I will be paying attention to all the things that have not paid attention in the past. Also, I've seen a lot of abbreviations in what they call contractions. They don't. No, everything is spelled out. In a professional paper, there's an example here. In a professional paper, one should not use contractions. Instead of saying, I'm a professional, in a professional paper, you don't use contractions. You don't do that. You spell it all out. Also, you have to write it in third person. So the things like I, you, and your are gone. Is he, she, you keep it in a way that sounds professional. Dr. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so. Use their names. This is not a letter. This is not a personal letter you're writing to your friend. This is an academic paper, and I expect it to be written that way. Then the matrix that is shown in here shows all the elements. There's 10 of them, and for 12 points. If you follow this in details, you get maximum value. If you skip or don't follow the instructions, points start to come off. Okay. All right. What else can I tell you? All right. Other sources of material. Throughout the week or throughout the course, I have not only been giving you ideas about APA, but if you have read some of my announcements, I've been trying to give you information that as you build towards this research paper would have prepared you. Now, what I have noticed is that a lot of you have not read a lot of material that gets put out, or some of my announcements, and that's okay. I understand you guys are busy, but I'm gonna go through them again so that at least I feel comfortable that I've done everything possible to reach to you so you can get a 100 in this research paper. There is no reason not to get a 100 in this research paper. I think it's something that you guys can do, and from some of the things I've seen in the past, you have the skill and know-how. The problem I think a lot of students have is what I call the strict talk to class talk. Many of you write things as if you were talking to a friend. A lot of opinions, a lot of suggestions, but in the academia world, in the professional world, you really need to stop doing that, because it shows and again, I'm just speaking from being an American for 25 years, even my chemistry degree, there is a level of respect that you want to show in papers and even in reports you're submitting to your boss that is different than writing to a friend. Even when every report I have written, I never went to doctor. It was always with a report cover, almost APA style. We use all the difference. We actually use what they call the naval correspondence in the Marine Corps, and we follow a format. And everything that was written from a perspective of third person addressing, so that when people read it, they could see objectivity, and they could see where you have made the effort to remain objective as you write the facts involving a case. In my case, I wrote a lot of things that dealt with personal careers. As an aviator, I reviewed for the general a lot of sensitive information. I had to translate that into from comments that were very personal to a report the general could read very succinctly, straight to the point, and with the facts. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. So you're not writing to a friend. You're writing to colleagues. You're writing to the professor. So the first thing is this Word Assignment Part 2 that I posted back in September 26th. using the AP cover and reference page template will be critical. Some of the information I put in the video may be useful to you too. Just remember what the word assignment was like, and again, we're gonna increase the standard for the research paper, but you may find information in there too. The other one was this thing about using AP citations to reference on the 12th. I gave you some other guidance about how to use it within your discussions. As you now finish this last two discussions in week 7 and 8, please apply it. This will be a tool that you will use in the future. And in August 28, I provided some other tools about Microsoft Office tutorials. If you're still struggling with by now, I hope that you get back in there and learn. If you didn't understand how I did citations, get into the Microsoft tutorial videos and find the tutorials and citations or on YouTube and get in there. Don't just try to figure out. If you're lost right now about how to use these tools, it is very important that you invest and take ownership, because this is not your process of developing what you need to know. You own this now. The APA, I provided a couple of tools and other references. Again, I may have provided too much stuff, but at the end, again, this I've been feeding you this throughout the course. Now I'm hoping that you can take at least one or two of these tools and actually make it into something you can use. Zotero and MS Word reference tools. Again, there's even a link here for you. So I think that pretty much concludes everything that I wanted to share with you guys. Let me look around a little bit just to make sure that I cover everything. Again, I'm not a perfect. I hate videos and creating videos. I'm a visual learner, and as a teacher, I want to be able to see you guys. So to me, online is not the most comfortable environment. I'm learning just like you're learning to get used to it. I prefer to interact with you guys and do it in person. But anyway, I do hope that through the course you have heard my voice through my comments in the announcements and in the discussions, and that now as you prepare your research paper, all of that will come together for you. And as you develop this research paper, hope that you have been transitioning from a normal, basically high school type writing into something that is more appropriate for college. And I look forward to reading your papers. Godspeed, and I'll see you on the other side. Take care. Bye.